Hi guys, Daniel here. Hope everyone's doing well. So I'm going to attempt to every round of the FIDE Candidates Tournament that's coming up. Which, if you don't know, I'm not sure why you don't know, but the FIDE Candidates Tournament is it's the big chess tournament that decides who gets to challenge Magnus Carlsen for the world title in December. So there are 8 contestants. So every round I'm going to be covering a fragment of a game and just trying to show a critical moment and taking you into my, amateur perspective as to, what kind of turned the game. So this is the game between Ding Liren and Wang Hao. I do just want to say, first of all, that, it's kind of unfortunate timing. It's just unfortunate times with the coronavirus and everything going on. So I'm just know I'm thinking about you. And yeah, just all my prayers are out. And just just stay safe. Do all the good things. Wash your hands. Social distancing and all that good stuff. And then yeah, we'll get through this together. And I also want to say thank you a lot for the positive comments for my first video. Even though it wasn't great, it was very encouraging, and looking forward to improving, my video producing game, and yeah, just going from there. So this game is against Ding Liren and Wang Hao, 2 countrymen. Sorry for the spoiler in advance, but Ding Liren, who was the second highest rated player going into the event, lost in round 1 as white to Wang Hao, the second lowest rated player in the event. So we're going to see how that transpired. So I believe this is where Ding Liren first kind of messed up. He played pawn to f4. Now I will say, pawn to f4 is a very natural move. I think a lot of people would have played it, under these circumstances. So I'm not gonna really cry and moan about how big of a mistake it was. But what really happened is Black just got some serious piece activity, and at that level, if you let your opponent, just get some piece activity, let the pieces kind of swarm in, then you're probably not getting away with it. So Black proceeded just to take the pawn on f4, and then after bishop takes f4, you may be wondering, those with a tactical eye, Black played knight takes f4. You might be wondering why bishop takes f4, because obviously rook can't take because the knight defends. Why this doesn't win a pawn. It does for a move, but after king g3, knight to g6, you have to notice that the bishop was on c7, defending b6, so you have to see that subtlety, so knight takes b6. And it's good for white. Now white has an outside pass pawn, and the knight is positioned. I mean, they're probably going to be attacked, soon enough, but anyway, that variation just kind of wins a pawn, so Black went on to play knight takes f4, and then after you don't want to play g takes f4 because of knight takes h4, which simply wins a pawn. So white is kind of forced into this trade with bishop f4. And after knight f4, g f4, we really see Black's pieces come to life with pawn to f5. Now I will say, white played e5, which is the most natural move. If you take the pawn, I mean, just look at this pawn structure, Now, these pawns are fine, but they're kind of locked up on the queen side. But if you just look at the king side pawn structure, I see 3 sets of isolated pawns, and one of them being double pawns. So it's already kind of a bad position for white. I think rook d4 is probably good, maybe doubling on the d file. King f6 is probably fine. It's just not something you want to do. So white played pawn to e5, and then we really see after rook to e6, king to f3, rook to g6, we really see, Black's counterplay, become manifest. The rook controls the g file, and we're going to see later, Black ends up putting their rook on d4, and then, activating their bishop via this, bishop to d8, targeting h4, so, and white doesn't have a lot of counterplay compared to that. So let's just see what transpired. Knight to e3, king to e6 to defend the f5 pawn. Rook to d1, bishop to d8, yeah, we're going after the h4 pawn, rook to a2, and then black just played a little bit of tickle with rook to d5, knight to e3, rook to d7, and then white played rook d to d2. Then after bishop takes h4, white tried to get some counterplay with rook to g2, but here a very thematic move was played by Wang Hao, so I'd encourage you to, to pause the video and just kind of think about what you would play as black. And I'll give you a hint. Just kind of ignore material count for position. So I just encourage you to take a pause. So I assume you've paused by now. And if you don't know the move which was played, which, if you studied these games, you might, black just played rook to g4. It might seem like they're just hanging the rook to the knight, and it is true. However, you really see after knight takes g4, black would probably play, I think either f or h is fine. The computer says h, but I think f makes a little bit more sense, just to get these two connected past pawns. But you really see, after white plays a move like king to e2, yes, black is down 2 material points. Well, technically 1, because they won a pawn earlier. So yes, black is down a material point. However, the 2 connected past pawns are really going to make white's life pretty difficult. They're just going to be they're connected, so they defend each other. Black will probably play a move like king to f5, move the bishop out of the way, and then start pushing those pawns. And yes, I know there's no immediate, win for black, but white's simply going to suffer, and it barely matters anymore that he is up material. So right, so after rook g2, rook g4, it's just really a thematic, this is just like a thematic, position to just kind of take home, just that. And also, the other catch to this is that, it is true that white is not forced to take the rook, because if they weren't and black didn't have anything else, then rook g4 would barely be effective, but black is getting some counterplay after rook to d4, and then, targeting the f-pawn, and then, rook to d4 is really key, and if the f-pawn is taken, the a-pawn might be, the a-pawn might be under suspense, so it's really a good situation for black, and I'm not necessarily going to show the rest of the game, I just want to show what I thought was the critical moment. So I really think white's troubles really just start with f4. Again, a very natural seeming move, but after e takes f4, after the whole exchange has happened, really just f5 was just key, and then just letting the pieces in, rook e6, rook g6, and eventually rook to g4, and then, bishop d8, bishop h4, rook to d4, black really just got some fluid counterplay, and there was not really much white could do. So yeah, that was I'll put a link to the game in the description of this video. And so yeah, so after round 1, so Wang Hao won that game. Jan Nepomniachtchi also won round 1, and then as I speak, round 2 I think just ended. I know Fabiano Caruana won, and Dean Liren lost again. He lost to Maxime Bachir-Lagrave. So yeah, I know there are 12 rounds to go, but if you were all hoping and anticipating that Dean Liren would be the one to dethrone Magnus Carlsen this year, unless he makes some serious comeback, that's probably going to have to wait.